All right, welcome to Hannity. We have major breaking news tonight about rampant political bias. It is now infecting your justice system like a cancer. It's threatening the very foundation of the rule of law in America. Fox News reporting tonight, a DOJ official has been demoted for highly suspicious meetings with Christopher Steele, now the creator of the Clinton bought and paid for fake news, Russia propaganda, anti-Trump dossier, and for meeting with Fusion GPS co-founder Glenn Simpson. We have all the details. Also, FBI Director Christopher Wray is grilled by lawmakers. Wait till you see this epic showdown on Capitol Hill over the Trump-hating FBI agent Peter Strzok, over the rampant political bias in the special counsel's office, and, of course, the corrupt Clinton email investigation. This was incredible today. Plus, we have the very classless Barack Obama continuing to attack President Trump. This time, he's actually warning that America can turn into Hitler's Nazi Germany. And, of course, the tinfoil hat crackpots over at Conspiracy TV, MSNBC, somehow managed to hit a new low, if that's even possible. We'll tell you about that. We'll get to all of that and so much more in tonight's breaking news opening monologue. It gets deeper and deeper every day. We start with breaking news. Another glaring example of political bias at your Department of Justice. Our very own James Rosen. He joins us tonight with an exclusive report. James, gets bigger every minute.
Sean, good evening. When Fox News first queried the Justice Department about Associate Deputy Attorney General Bruce Ohr, a top official just 4 doors down from Deputy AG Rod Rosenstein, we were told that Ohr had been stripped of his title and his office a few hours before our inquiry. Later, DOJ told us that Ohr had lost that job because he is also and remains director of DOJ's Organized Crime Drug Enforcement Task Force, and that his wearing of 2 hats was, quote, unusual. Finally, this afternoon, DOJ officials acknowledged the real reason for Ohr's stunning demotion yesterday, namely that he withheld from superiors his meetings last year with 2 controversial figures. Investigators for the House Intelligence Committee have uncovered that Ohr met with Christopher Steele, the former British spy who authored the infamous anti-Trump dossier with input from Russian sources. And he also met with Glenn Simpson, the founder of Fusion GPS, the opposition research firm that paid Steele with funding from the Clinton campaign and the Democratic National Committee. The dossier was given to the FBI in July 2016, around the same time that Donald Trump accepted the GOP nomination. Former FBI Director James Comey has described the dossier as a collection of salacious and unverified material about Mr. Trump and his associates.
I'm not sure when the FBI first took possession of it, but the media had it before you had it and we had it. At the time of your departure from the FBI, was the FBI able to confirm any criminal allegations contained in the Steele document?
Mr. Chairman, I don't think that's a question I can answer in an open setting because it goes into the details of the investigation.
Republican investigators from the House Intelligence Committee issued a fresh subpoena on DOJ today for information on Bruce Ohr. They are looking to determine whether the Democratic-funded dossier was used to obtain FISA surveillance on a Trump campaign advisor named Carter Page. Sean.
Big question. James Rosen, thank you tonight from Washington. Now, this whole thing, I tell you, is a house of cards. It's beginning to crash down. I promise you there's a lot more information that has still not come out as of yet. TikTok to all our friends out there on Twitter, because we're only scratching the surface here. For example, Sarah Carter reporting tonight, House Intelligence Committee Chairman Devin Nunes will issue a subpoena to Bruce Ohr for more information about his meetings regarding this anti-Trump dossier. And also tonight, House lawmakers grilling the FBI Director Christopher Wray on Capitol Hill about new information regarding the Trump-hating FBI agent Peter Strzok after Strzok was fired from Robert Mueller's investigation. Why? For bashing Trump in text messages to his FBI official girlfriend, also part of the team. Now, before we show you the video, remember, Strzok signed the document that started the entire Russian investigation, and Strzok's team was assigned to handle the dossier when it was first given to the FBI. And Strzok oversaw the interview of former National Security Advisor Lieutenant General Michael Flynn, and he played a key role in the Clinton email investigation. This guy never slept, including, by the way, attending Hillary's FBI interview that was not under oath. He was also there at the interviews of Clinton's top aides, Uma Abedin, Cheryl Mills, who we know lied. And Strzok is responsible for changing the key language in James Comey's statement that exonerated Hillary Clinton before the investigation. investigation from grossly negligent, which is the legal standard, to extremely careless. Now that you have all this information, take a look at this showdown. It's epic from today.
What we've learned about FBI agent Strzok is that this is the one FBI agent that is literally at the epicenter of virtually every major decision the FBI has been involved in, action and inaction, about candidate Trump, about President Trump, and about candidate Clinton. And if that one agent at the center or source is decidedly anti-Trump and decidedly pro-Clinton, that raises real questions.
I'm sure you're aware of the recent media reports indicating that Peter Strzok, who is a special agent at the FBI, changed the words grossly negligent to extremely careless in former Director Comey's statement closing the Clinton investigation.
Gross negligence is the language in the statute, I believe. But I believe also that almost anybody who grabbed a thesaurus would say that gross negligence and extremely careless are pretty darn close to each other.
You're right, they are synonyms. Extremely careless is a synonym for grossly negligent, which begs the question, why change it?
How did this guy get on your supposedly unbiased team in the first place?
If you watched today, you saw something that we have been telling you now for a long time, that other networks that say they're fair and balanced and objective and they consider themselves to be real journalists never talk about. Pretty amazing. Now, Peter Strzok, that's the Trump-hating, Clinton-loving FBI agent. He's tied to everything, including the fake news dossier. Watch very closely, an amazing moment, Congressman Jim Jordan connecting all of the dots. Well, kind of like we've been doing on this show. Why? Because it's the truth. Something missing in today's world of so-called journalism, which I said was dead back in 2008. Take a look.
Peter Strzok, the guy who ran the Clinton investigation, interviewed Mills, Abedin, interviewed Secretary Clinton, changed gross negligence a crime to the term extreme carelessness, who ran the Russian investigation, who interviewed Mike Flynn, gets put on Mueller's team, and then he gets kicked off for a text message that's anti-Trump. If he kicked everybody off Mueller's team who was anti-Trump, I don't think there'd be anybody left. So here there's got to be something more here. My hunch is it has something to do with the dossier. Director, did Peter Strzok help produce and present the application to the FISA court to secure a warrant to spy on Americans associated with the Trump campaign?
Congressman, I'm not prepared to discuss anything about a FISA process in this setting.
Did Peter Strzok, was he involved in taking that to the court?
I'm not going to discuss in this setting anything to do with the FISA court applications.
It's been reported that this dossier was all dressed up by the FBI, taken to the FISA court, and presented as a legitimate intelligence document, that it became the basis for granting a warrant to spy on Americans. And I'm wondering if that actually took place. It sure looks like it did.
Now, what Congressman Jordan is talking about, and what we have now been getting at for months, is this is critical to the entire so-called Russian investigation. You got everybody in the liberal, mainstream, destroy Trump media trying to make this all about non-existent Trump-Russia collusion. It's been a year, no evidence, but they've all been missing the point, and frankly, deliberately misleading and lying to you, the American people. They're lazy and they're overpaid. It's pathetic. The big story in all of this is the growing possibility, yes, it's emerging, that the FBI used the Clinton bought and paid for Russian dossier to obtain a FISA warrant to spy on American citizens that were connected to candidate and then President-elect Trump. Now, that would be weaponizing the very powerful tools and using them against an opposition party in an election year. Now, let's be clear here. It's not a smoking gun quite yet, but it's coming. But that's all where the signs now are pointing to. We'll follow this every single step of the way. We're ahead of the curve. Please stay with us. And one more very important point. Can anyone explain to me, anybody at all, how Robert Mueller's investigation can be described as fair, impartial, not biased? Let's imagine for just a second it's you. it's your family member or somebody that you love and care about, your friends. Would you really want Robert Mueller and his team of partisan political hacks investigating you? Would you want a group of people that donated over $50,000 to the Democrats and filled with unethical officials and attorneys coming after you that hate one candidate, love the other candidate? Would you really trust them to be fair? Do you think this is how the justice system is supposed to work? Because I don't think so. And also tonight, yes, no class, Barack Obama back again. What is he doing? Launching a new far-left attack against President Trump, warning that America could turn into Nazi Germany. Now, he's speaking at the Economic Club of Chicago, and Obama said the danger today is, quote, growing complacent. We have to tend to this garden of democracy or else things could fall apart quickly. That's what happened in Germany in the 1930s, which, despite the democracy of the Weimar Republic and centuries of high-level cultural and scientific achievements, Adolf Hitler rose to dominate. 60 million people died, so you got to pay attention. And you got to vote. All right, very cute, very clever, comparing the president in a subtle way to Hitler and Nazis. Obama, by the way, how are your unrepentant domestic terrorist buddies, Bill Ayers and Bernardine Dohrn, doing? Oh, and by the way, please send our best wishes to the Church of GD America and the Reverend Jeremiah Wright. Now, the former president is obviously sick, pathetic, and twisted in this obsession with President Trump. He's kind of like everybody in the media. And every single chance Obama gets, whether it be here or at home, overseas, doesn't matter, he's trashing, trying to undermine the president. Maybe he can't get over the fact that his record was atrocious. Maybe he needs to take his own advice and accept the results of the election. Okay, President Obama, Hillary lost. Time for you two to get over it. And by the way, I know this is probably impossible, but maybe try taking some notes from George W. Bush, because George W. Bush never criticized you, not one time, after he left office, because he actually respected the office more and thought it was more important. Finally tonight, over at Conspiracy TV, MSNBC, Crazy Liberal Joe and his cohorts over at that network, well, they're at it again, now stooping to a new low, attacking and trying to discredit the president in a segment only Chicken Little could be proud of. Liberal Joe and his panel of never Trump-hating sycophants had a collective meltdown during some deranged and reckless speculation about the president's health. Watch this.
He is clearly slurring his words. I don't know what the cause of it is. The question of his fitness, of his stability, is in the air.
At the beginning of the speech, before the slurring started, I said, Mika, look at him. This is not the person that we knew even 3 years ago.
He does not look in great physical shape and hasn't for some time.
Now it's Republicans that are coming to us and saying the President of the United States is not mentally fit.
You're not mentally fit to host a TV show. There you have it. Armchair conspiracy psychology from America's most unhinged liberal morning show host and his band of merry Trump haters. It makes you wonder why Liberal Joe has so much rage and contempt for this president. Joe, you're kind of scaring us. I'll pay for therapy if you need it. Joining us now with reaction, counselor to the president, Kellyanne Conway is with us. Forget about those people because it's a joke. It's at this point they're a caricature of themselves. But the more important issue is this. Is this a fair investigation? Could you imagine if this was against the Democratic president, only donors to the Republican Party, people that were texting back and forth involved in the investigation that hate one side and love the other side? At some point, Kellyanne, you got to say, don't we need a justice system that's fair, balanced?
The president has always said that. He respects the rank and file at the Department of Justice and the 35,000 or so who work for the FBI, but we can't have a politicization of any investigation. It should be transparent. It should be independent. And what you and James Rosen and other reporters who care to know all of the facts have uncovered is very troubling to any American who's paying attention. This Peter Strzok guy, boy, is he the busiest guy in Washington, D.C. I don't don't know if I've ever sent 10,000 texts in my life, let alone to one person. He's carrying on this relationship. He's sending 10,000 texts. He's putting energy into being systematically against Donald Trump, which is not his job. He is really at the eye of the hurricane of so much. He is changing the language to protect Hillary Clinton. It sounds like he's present when her top confidants are being interviewed. He's present when she's being interviewed. This is the entire problem that Americans have with Washington, D.C. and had with Hillary Clinton. The idea that she's always above the law, there's a double standard, and Sean, anybody, and this includes everybody, who has wasted all of 2017 talking about Russia, Russia, Russia in this investigation, they are duty-bound to cover this aspect of the investigation. This guy in the Department of Justice, he's 4 doors down from his boss, the Deputy Attorney General. He's in Main Justice. He's on the main floor there, and he is meeting after Donald Trump won, which they did not expect and they did not want. He's meeting with the head of a guy who put together a dossier using DNC and Clinton campaign money and trying to figure out a way to discredit the democratically elected president. It stinks to high heaven. And look, I think there's so much going on so quickly with all this information that it's very easy for Americans to just tune it out or feel, oh, it's confused or it doesn't affect me. What are we doing for Christmas? What's going on for New Year's? They will pay attention. And part of it is the media have set a trap for themselves. They've been so obsessed for a year plus with what they consider to be an important investigation. They've been talking about Russia and not America. But it also shows something else. I want to say one more thing. Hillary Clinton, she already had every advantage possible. All the king's horses, all the king's men. She had so much more money, so much more personnel. She had all of the mainstream media. She had all the Democrats. She had so many people behind her. Two presidents, her husband and her predecessor, who's by the way, whose record did not get a third term through her candidacy, Barack Obama's. She had all these advantages, and then after she loses, she still has advantages. She still has people going for her. Donald Trump won on the issues. He was a much better, brilliant communicator and messenger. His ideas prevailed. Hers failed. And this idea on his health is offensive. I won't even dignify it except to say, remember when Hillary Clinton folded like an accordion in front of the whole world on 9/11? We said nothing about it the whole day at the campaign, zero. She folded in front of everyone. And apparently she had had pneumonia 2 days earlier. And you know what she did that night? She was at Cipriani with her high-class donors, calling the rest of us irredeemable and deplorable with pneumonia. Then she takes 5 days off before the debates. Donald Trump's doing 7 rallies a day and showing up to the debate to beat her. She's taking time off to rest. And we're going to talk about his health. It's a joke. The man's the most energetic, engaged person I know.
I do remember her collapse and a bunch of other issues that came up during the campaign. Kellyanne, good to see you. We appreciate it. And,
thank you.
Thank you so much. By the way, those images you're seeing, Ventura County, San Diego, California, you have these wildfires now raging out of control. You have the high-blowing Santa Ana winds coming in. It has really, these are chilling photos. We'll keep an eye on it all throughout the night tonight. Here with more reaction first, though, is Salem Radio nationally syndicated host Larry Elder, former Secret Service agent Dan Bongino. Dan, look, we got to be careful. I respect rank and file, Secret Service, FBI, intelligence people. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the highest level within these agencies, clearly covering up for Hillary Clinton before they ever investigate, and literally applying one double standard after another, using pro-Hillary, anti-Trump prosecutors to do it. This literally is a threat to our entire legal system if this holds up. Your thoughts?
You know, Sean, I'm really terrified right now. And, you know, I know that may sound hyperbolic to some of the Democrats listening, but I mean it. As a former federal agent who's been inside both the White House and inside the federal government, do you realize the awesome power the federal government has? It's so powerful that a sitting president, the most powerful man in the world, has been targeted by it, by a clearly political process. This is not a criminal process. This is a political process. And there's nothing he can do. Sean, I get it. There are people in the government that have political opinions. Everybody understands that. But I'm asking the audience, what are the chances that everybody with a strong political opinion, which is both anti-Trump and pro-Hillary, managed to wiggle their way into the Justice Department and influential positions in the FBI and had decision-making power over both the special counsel investigation and the Hillary investigation. Listen to me. This is a scam. And if this is allowed to proceed, Americans' faith in the constitutional republic is going to be shaken, I promise you.
Larry Elder, let's put on your legal hat for just a second. Maybe some people, most people know you're a lawyer. Look at this from a legal perspective. You know, we're talking about illegal surveillance, unmasking, the leaking of raw intelligence, perhaps. Then we've got, of course, a Hillary Clinton bought and paid for dossier. Questions about, well, the dossier that she bought and paid for, was it used to get a warrant to literally surveil an opposition candidate in an election year and then surveil a president-elect? These questions are chilling enough. And then you've got the anti-Trump bias, pro-Hillary, appointees of Mueller. How do you untangle this web?
You know, I remember when Mitch McConnell said the best thing I could do for the country is to make Obama a one-term president. He got hammered. He was called racist by Morgan Freeman, among other people. Can you imagine what they'd be saying if President Obama was being investigated for reasons this weak, this thin, this lame? The Republican Party would be accused of being racist, and the accusers would be right. This is a joke. Can you imagine if Obama was being investigated by people who had made contributions to John McCain or to Mitt Romney, and had sent text messages slamming him?
Agreed.
I mean, it's insane.
It's insane.
And then to pay for this dossier, and the dossier apparently was the trigger to go to the FISA court to get a warrant to surveil members of the Trump team. It is incredible to me that this is going on in this country. And again, if the shoe were on the other foot with the same fact pattern and they were going after Obama, the country would be on fire. You'd have people screaming bloody murder.
Yeah, I have friends of mine retired currently, FBI, and I know you do, Dan Bongino, and they are apoplectic over what is going on here. They see clear. They feel like the president feels that this agency, these agencies that they love and have devoted their lives to, is rightly come under criticism for those at the top with what they're doing and how they're doing. When have you ever heard of an exoneration by the FBI changing language, the exoneration before the investigation? How could anybody, by any definition, say that is fundamentally just in any way?
You can't, Sean. The Justice Department failed us. I'm sorry. It let us down. I agree with you. I know the rank and file, the men and women. They're great. It's not their fault. But, Sean, the single most important question right now, I believe, in the American political process, the special counsel, everything going on, the single most important question was asked by Jim Jordan today. Was the dossier, a political opposition research document, used to get an affidavit to spy on what would have been, under any other circumstance, a law-abiding American in Mike Flynn? If that's the case, Sean, mark my words on this. You saw the first hijacking of the FBI by the Democratic National Committee and a major political party candidate in the Hillary Clinton campaign.
All right, thank you both for being with us.
And Sean, look at the double standard here. Hillary skates. The server's in the basement. The emails are deleted, and she skates. And all of a sudden,
they
Trump
covered
is being
for
investigated.
Larry.
It's outrageous.
The fix was in. They covered for Hillary Clinton. It was all a cover-up. The whole thing is provable now. All right. Thank you both. We have a lot more to cover tonight. Powerful edition of Hannity. Sarah Carter, brand new report, along with Greg Jarrett, John Solomon. Also, Newt Gingrich is here. As you can see on your screen, Ventura County, San Diego, raging wildfires, leaving a trail of destruction as we speak in Southern California. We'll have a report on that and more. Fox News alert: wildfires continue to devastate California tonight, according to a fire official. Now 439 homes and buildings destroyed by these wildfires north of Los Angeles. We'll have a live report coming up later in the program. Back to our top story. We have a senior Justice Department official. His name is Bruce Orr. He was demoted because of his ties with Fusion GPS. That, of course, the firm responsible for the dirty Russian anti-Trump dossier bought and paid for by Hillary and the DNC. And Sarah Carter reporting tonight that the House Intel Committee Chairman, Devin Nunes, is going to issue a subpoena for this demoted Justice Department official. Now, joining us now with more on this developing story from the Hill, John Solomon, investigative journalist Sarah Carter, Fox News legal analyst Greg Jarrett. We got to, Sarah, start with where we are here. And it's not just him. Rumors tonight running rampant of a major shakeup coming to the FBI, possibly as early as tomorrow.
Yeah, certainly that's right, Sean. That's what I've been hearing as well from my sources. We know now that Bruce Orr, as reported by James Rosen, he was demoted from Deputy Attorney General, and now he's facing a subpoena by the House Intelligence Committee, and that should be issued in the next couple of days. They are issuing that subpoena. It hasn't happened today yet. It's going through the process right now, so within the next day, possibly even as soon as tomorrow, they should have that subpoena issued. And now we're also looking at other developments. I mean, we know that Bruce Orr had met with Christopher Steele prior to the election, and then after the election, he met with Glenn Simpson, who is the owner of, who, by the way, paid Christopher Steele with the money from the DNC and Hillary Clinton to fund the rest of the dossier, the salacious, unverified dossier. So right now, what the Intelligence Committee chairman wants to know is, why did he meet with him? What did they discuss? And why did he meet with Glenn Simpson? And what did they discuss after the election? This is really big news. They say this is big, big news, maybe even bigger than Peter Strzok.
All right. This is all great points you're making. And by the way, also the talk of, well, what did Rod Rosenstein know? What did I'd like to know what he knew. I'd like to know what Comey knew. I'd like to know what Mueller knew ahead of all of this. You know, a lot of questions, John, being raised about, okay, this team that literally has covered for Hillary Clinton and put all these biased people going after Donald Trump, you know, what would it take to get rid of a special counsel?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's a high legal standard, right? You have to have one of three things usually. Misconduct. He has to have done something wrong in the investigation. A clear conflict of interest, and that's an area that could become very interesting in the next few weeks. Or an abuse of power. It isn't just because people don't like the people he picked or the political sentiments of the people. To remove someone of that stature from this job, there has to be a very serious conflict, abuse of power, or misconduct. And to date, I don't think anything has emerged yet. There's a lot of concern.
Seems like we're getting very close, though.
Well, I think the conflict of interest thing is the thing we should watch. I think we're going to learn some new things in the next 2 weeks, Sean, that's going to raise questions on that front.
There are two conflicts of interest that could get Mueller fired. The first one is Mueller interviewed with the president for Comey's job.
The day before.
That's right. Then the next day takes the job as special counsel. Think about that. Sitting across from the man who's posing questions, and Mueller is not telling the president. He's being dishonest and deceptive. And he's involved in the aftermath of the Comey firing, which is the subject of the special counsel investigation. That disqualifies him. It's mandatory under the law. The other is his close friendship, also a mandatory disqualification. His close friendship with Comey. Mueller has refused to resign or step aside. It's time that the Attorney General unrecuse himself, replace Mueller, and clean up this staff that is rife with political bias and corrupt motives.
Where are we, Sarah, on the issue of reports that Comey wanted to hire Christopher Steele? Did they pay Christopher Steele? And when you get to the whole dossier issue, the fact that Orr knew all of that, and he's 4 doors down from Rod Rosenstein?
Well, it's incredible, Sean. And right now, well, today we know one thing, that Nunes has been cleared by the Ethics Committee. So for 8 months, they've sidelined the chairman of the Intelligence Committee on one question. I've talked to sources up in Congress that said this was incredible. This would have never happened in the past. But those are the questions that they want answers to, and that's what they're seeking. So they will subpoena Bruce Orr. They will ask these questions. They have already presented those questions to the DOJ. We know the Inspector General is investigating this, and these are the questions that the American public wants answered, as well as me, as well as John, everybody else, you. So there has to be some answer coming from the FBI, and especially from FBI Director Wray.
Are the House of Cards going to blow down?
I think so. And it's a shame because there are so many highly qualified, experienced lawyers who don't have a political axe to grind that Robert Mueller could have selected. He did not do it. It was deliberate. It was by design. Instead, he stacked it with people with egregious political biases, people who, in one case, defended the Hillary Clinton Foundation, in another, defending her top IT aide. These are people who should be nowhere near this investigation of Clinton's opponent, Trump.
John, knowing all you know and what's likely coming, how bad does this get for Mueller?
You know, I think there's a very important question that hasn't been fully focused on about Peter Strzok, and that is he was in the counterintelligence position on two of the most important investigations of the last year, Trump and Clinton. Counterintelligence agents are the focus of foreign powers. He engaged in an affair, if the reports are true. What's the one way a foreign power compromises someone? Through sex and affairs? And then after it's revealed that he had an affair, and it was with a fellow FBI agent, the FBI department, which was talking about the integrity today, where did they put him? They put him in human resources, like he has some expertise on following the rules. It's amazing to me. I think there's more questions to be about whether he was in a compromised position because he had an affair.
It was epic at this hearing today. I mean, seriously, what the Republicans did is everything we've all been talking about. It's getting interesting. Thank you all. When we come back, Tomi Lahren, Jessica Tarlov weigh in whether Senator Al Franken should have resigned today. Also, Newt Gingrich reacts to Mueller's partisan witch hunt as we continue. All right, today, amid mounting pressure, Democratic Senator Al Franken announced he will resign in the next few weeks. And, of course, the disgraced senator couldn't help himself, had to take a final parting shot at Republicans. And also tonight, Republican Congressman Trent Franks announced that he would resign from office at the end of January. This after former staffers complaining about discussions the congressman had with them about surrogacy issues. Joining us now, Fox News contributors Tomi Lahren and Jessica Tarlov. Tomi, in the case of Franken, you had the pictures. You didn't just have the case of Leanne Tweeden, and you had creepy pictures with Ariana and Joy Behar, although they gave him a pass, in my opinion, just looking at the picture. What do you do in these cases when you don't know?
Well, here's what Franken did today. He pulled a Hillary Clinton. He did a sorry, but I'm not really sorry. I'm not really going to take responsibility. But let's be honest here. He is the sacrificial lamb of the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party doesn't need him, so they threw him away, threw him under the bus, and they hope that this is going to somehow better their case, their moral high ground against Roy Moore. Not sure it's going to work.
Yeah, and also they're not losing the seat, Jessica. They have a Democrat who's the governor. We
certainly made the decision easier, absolutely. But I'd like to go to the question.
Made the decision easier, but there has been 30 years now, including up to and including all through last year, defending the predator Bill Clinton. That's a fact. That's their record. I don't believe this is principle. I believe this is politics and political expediency.
There's certainly politics and political expediency here. I do not think at all that the Clintons are relevant to this conversation. And
you know what? No, wait a minute. Jessica, with all due respect, what's relevant is they defended a guy who was accused of rape, groping, grabbing, fondling, touching, kissing against a woman's will. A guy that lied about Jennifer Flowers, and a team that evolved out of the Clintons that smeared these women for 30 years. You cannot tell us this is not relevant.
I can tell you because today the Clintons are history. Kirsten Gillibrand came out and said
that the people that defended all this are not history.
What do you want to do? You want to expel every Democrat over the age of 50?
No, I want honesty.
This country elected a man who has 16 allegations of sexual harassment.
Is that what it's all about?
Him.
It's all about Donald Trump.
No, it's not all.
So let me ask you a question.
Do you believe? It's about Harvey Weinstein.
Do you believe? What do you think should happen in cases? I was consistent about John Conyers. I said he's denying it. It needs to be investigated. It's serious, but we got to get the facts and we got to get to the truth. Is that the right position to take?
I think that we do absolutely need to do that. But step number one is that we believe women. We have decided as a society that we take women's word and then we investigate and we move from there.
Jessica, I want to ask you, because you and I are both women. Do you really think that that's fair in every case to take a woman's story as gospel and not ask any questions? The Democrats not believe in due process? Because I can sit here as a woman and say, I don't think it's right that every woman is just believed. Her her truth is just taken as the ultimate truth without an investigation. Think of how powerful that is. Trial by social media. Let's get over this.
I understand that completely.
It's so damning.
And I wrote in a column for Fox News last week. I didn't think that Franken had to go, but I believe our first step has to be to take women seriously. There are stories coming out that have hit every single industry.
Al Franken,
of great abuses.
Why?
Of
Wait a
men
minute.
in
I agree
positions of
taking
power.
seriously, but how do you know? How do we know?
Well, I think that you look at things. I mean, in the Roy Moore case, you look at the notes that he's written.
Why don't we? Why haven't we done the forensics? Why haven't we done the forensics in that case?
I don't know about the. I think you can do the yearbook and those.
I gotta go.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Newt Gingrich is next. Straight ahead. As we continue tonight on Hannity, joining us now, the author of the best-selling book Vengeance, Fox News contributor, former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich. Mr. Speaker, you know, is this a political prosecution you see unfolding before you? In other words, you got all of Mueller's appointees for Hillary Clinton, we're discovering, all of them with questionable ethical, the use of their ethics, or lack of ethics, and persecuting all Trump associates. Do you see something that's dangerous to you?
Well, it's very dangerous, and it's actually very parallel to what they have just exposed in Wisconsin, was an effort to use the legal system to destroy Governor Walker. And they've had an amazing series of stories in Wisconsin now, where it turned out that there were a group of lawyers who ran amok and who were trying to destroy people's lives. I see the same thing happening here, and I raise a single question. Flynn, after 35 years serving in uniform, and skip Hillary Clinton's aides, who clearly lied under oath. How can they possibly defend that?
But now we know the fix was in.
It seems to me.
They were writing your exoneration. They didn't even do the investigation, sir.
Right. So I think the correct answer under our constitutional system is for the House and Senate Judiciary Committees to start subpoenaing these guys, bringing them in under oath. I want to see all 10,000 of the tweets that the one FBI agent apparently sent to his girlfriend that has all sorts of apparently anti-Trump stuff in it. But more than that, I think they need to bring Comey in under oath and say, tell us again why you did not swear in Hillary Clinton. Why was she not put at risk of perjury the way you did, the way General Flynn was? I think they need to bring in the entire team who were involved in the Clinton investigation. This thing stinks so badly that we really need to be protected. And under our Constitution, one of the protections is the power of Congress to investigate, and the House and Senate Judiciary Committees ought to go in. One thing they should ask is the deputy FBI director, whose wife, as a Democratic candidate, got, I think, $900,000 in donations, why did he not recuse himself? How can he possibly be neutral? And these are the kind of questions the Congress ought to be asking right now.
What do we do if they never really investigated Hillary Clinton now? I mean, because we know the fix was in. We know that they wrote the exoneration beforehand. And why do I think that's obstruction of justice by Comey, this guy Peter Strzok, and other people that are involved? How do we have equal justice under the law if we don't do that?
Well, I think clearly the Attorney General has to appoint a special counsel. I think they need two special counsels, one to go back and look at the entire Clinton experience, the Uranium One, the Clinton Foundation, et cetera. But second, we need a special counsel or some kind of appropriate appointment to review the FBI and the Justice Department's own role. I mean, this is so sick. It is so one-sided. It is so clearly not the rule of law. Sometimes you have to have somebody who protects you from the protectors. When the protectors are, Lord Acton checked and warned that power tends to corrupt. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. We are living through that experience right now. We're seeing power in the Justice Department, power in the FBI that clearly led to corruption, and that means we've got to take some very severe steps. It may involve, frankly, developing some panels of special outside lawyers who have the full power to subpoena everything to go in and just root this stuff out. I mean, this is really a serious, serious problem.
It's also a serious problem if you have a group of people that want to undo an election. Do you believe at the heart of this that there is a deep state, maybe including former intelligence officials or people that use the weaponry of intelligence, that are criminalizing perhaps the FBI, deep state leaking, that have as their goal that they think the American people made a mistake and they want to undo the results of this election, and they're using every devious tactic they possibly can?
Well, a good friend of mine who's been through this and who understands it really well said to me today, you have to understand that in 2016, the idea of Donald Trump as president was so horrifying to the left that any action was seen as acceptable, no matter how illegal, as long as it was for the purpose of stopping Trump. And I think they all, frankly, expected Hillary to win, and they thought they would simply cover up all of their crimes. The great shock to them has been that Trump did win, and that slowly, painfully, step by step, we are beginning to unmask how sick the system is, how deep the corruption is. And a lot of people are now at risk, I think. I think Mueller's at risk. I think Comey's at risk. I think there are a whole range of people who are at risk for having basically violated the law, abused power in remarkable ways. I don't know of any experience in American history where you have the scale of abuse of power that we're seeing right now.
The boomerang effect, though, is in full play here, because we now know Hillary Clinton, through her campaign, through the DNC, which Donna Brazile says she controlled, and the money therein, that they paid Fusion GPS, that they hired this guy Christopher Steele. Christopher Steele goes for Trump and President-elect Trump and his team. Now, if that were to be the case, which it appears it may very well be a possibility after the hearings today, what does that mean?
Well, what it means is that the Obama administration did everything it could, first to block Trump from winning, and second to undermine and weaken and cripple Trump as he took power. And that this is ultimately going to go all the way through the entire administration. It's the National Security Advisor. It's the ambassador to the United Nations. It's a whole range of people. It's the Attorney General. And I think people need to recognize this. This is an extraordinarily wide-ranging pattern of corruption. And I mean corruption, and not in the sense of money swapping hands, but in the old-fashioned sense that the founding fathers would have understood, that these were people who were abusing the law for their special interest and the special interest of their faction, and they were prepared to hurt the innocent. They were prepared to frame people. They were prepared to do whatever they had to because they believed that the cause they were for was so self-righteous, the cause of defeating Trump. Even more than the cause of electing Hillary, it was the specter of Trump that terrified him, and therefore anything was legitimate. Now, it wasn't. It was, in fact, illegal.
All right, we got to leave it there. Mr. Speaker, always good to see you. Thank you for being with us. And up next, we have a live report. Look at that. That's Southern California on fire tonight. Wildfires destroying the region. That report straight ahead. Sadly, tonight, wildfires continue to sweep all across Southern California for another day. Joining us now on the ground in Ventura County, California, Fox News senior correspondent Adam Housley. By the way, and I don't know if the audience knows, you went through this in Northern California. I live 30 minutes north of Ventura County. I know the area well. Also in San Diego tonight. It's so sad to watch this.
Yeah, Sean, fires seem like starting at least one big one a day. This one here is one of the many parts, many fronts to this fire, the Thomas fire. We've been talking to you a lot last night about it. We're just outside of Ventura heading towards Ojai, and as you can see, these flames are pretty significant, and this is just one of about 5 or 6 other major parts to this fire that are still burning like this. The good news right now is there's no wind, but the bad news is you can see this thing is still burning very strong, in fact, threatening homes in a number of places. As we show you this live here, I want to do want to show a quick view of San Diego. A big fire started there today, actually 2 fires down there, and one out near Riverside. This one down in San Diego is the biggest, more than 2,000 acres already. Some homes have burned and 18,000 people have been evacuated. So, Sean, the firefight continues here in Southern California. The red flag alert remains until Saturday.
All right, Adam, thoughts and prayers with all the people there. Hope they please stay safe. And very dangerous, and especially with the Santa Ana winds when they come kicking in. Very dangerous. It spreads all over. That's all the time we have left this evening. We are always going to be fair and balanced. We are not ever promised the destroy Trump media. We're different, and we were proven right in that hearing today. We'll stay on the case. I promise you that. Let not your heart be troubled. The news continues. Laura Ingraham in D.C. Hi.
Hey, Sean, great show. And I have some incredible